Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Backstage Esports. We we have hello and welcome back to another episode of Backstage Esports.
Yeah, get it out, get it
Yeah,
out. Today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Ludwig
Kainz,
Kainz, sorry,
also known as Luuu.
Luuu, from Wave Esports.
Mhm. Before we start the episode, and thank you everyone for joining us, we have a word from our sponsor, Multiverse Games. If you are interested in board games, they have a huge selection of board games, so you're sure to find something that you like. If you're interested in TCGs, any TCG like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, they have weekly tournaments here, and they also have a uh, really defined D&D collection for all your with many D&D adventures and very skilled dungeon masters. So you'll be sure to have many memories with your party. So if you're ever in the Hamra area in Beirut, be sure to check them out. And if you're on Instagram and Facebook, be sure to check out their pages as well. Now, without further ado, Lou.
Yeah, hello
Hello.
guys.
Hello. Can we say that? Hello.
Yeah, it's a pleasure
Hello.
to be here. I'm excited to talk a little bit of Wave, maybe also about myself, and yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, happy to have you.
Indeed, happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you were talking about Wave, um, I wanted to ask first about if you would like to introduce yourself briefly, like
Yeah,
because people like we said that you were like you were a Fortnite player and then you moved on to becoming a co-founder of Wave. So could you tell us a bit
Yeah.
more about yourself?
Maybe more about
Sure.
your career.
Yeah, so my name is Ludwig
Career-wise.
Kainz, and I'm a co-founder at Wave Esports. Within a short amount of time, I would say we've become one of the top esports organizations in Europe. We are focused on Fortnite and Valorant for now, and we're trying to become the German esports lifestyle brand that combines the competitive side also with the entertainment side. We have had major successes so far, which led to rapid growth on our social media reach, and all that with quite a limited budget, I would say. And in my role as chief operating officer, I'm mostly in charge with the internal affairs and the internal communication, but with a focus on the esports side. So I'm talking a lot with our coaches as well, team managers, taking care also of the players. But I'm also involved in content, social media, and sponsor-related topics.
You do cover so much, honestly. Really between the operations and
Yeah.
that is actually very ambitious also to be like one of the main esports brands in Germany, considering that is the esports scene in
It's very
Germany is very
competitive and
competitive and
yeah.
it's fleshed out, honestly. Like,
Yeah, I think player-wise, Germany is very competitive. The only downside that I see in Germany is the viewership numbers. If you compare it to France and Spain,
yeah.
they're on a higher level. I think they have more of a better infrastructure when it comes to all the organizations and so on. But yeah, it's definitely very competitive. We can also see that with our League of Legends team in the Prime League.
There's also support I heard in Germany for everyone who wants to build that career from people who've already done it. So people can get inspired from those stories as well. Like you will see coaches or streamers or players, anyone who's into that esports scene has made a career out of it. There is an organization, I honestly forgot what it's called, but it's an official organization that really helps inspire people. I've seen their page on Instagram. If I do remember the name, I will definitely. Uh, but that's really good for creating that structure in order to lift people, and you will also be helping with that structure as well, I assume, because uh, you're gonna have a lot of players in the team support. You're gonna create it from the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think esports is still in a very early stage.
Yeah.
So even though we have a good system nowadays to kind of get started and get a foothold, but there's only a limited number of players, but also coaches that can really like make it a full-time job. Money-wise, of course, Europe is pretty strong, and in general, it's very top-heavy. So that's one of the concerns still. Like I would say, the tier 2 scene. There's a quite large gap to the very big organizations.
Of course.
So like those are all the challenges for the upcoming players, but also teams.
Definitely, especially when you mentioned top heavy, like this is the thing in esports in general. I think because everyone made it to tier one because there was only tier one, and now we have a lot of players in tier one, even people who are rookies going into tier one directly. So it has only recently that we start seeing these second tier, third tier divisions. So yeah, definitely top heavy, but a lot of also coaching potential on the other hand, such as you, for example. You started off from player to becoming to also establishing the organization. So top heavy
Yeah.
also has its positive.
Yeah, I mean, I was for sure in a lucky position to make the jump that quick. But yeah, I think anyone that's really willing to commit a lot to esports can like have some certain skill sets that he can really make it and be useful. And I mean, esports organizations nowadays are not just about gaming. There's so much more behind.
Definitely.
The whole marketing side, merch, design, editing. There's really space for anyone that's
Yeah,
I would say either working hard or very creative in this field.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
All you need is passion, actually.
seriously,
Yeah.
definitely. Could you tell us a bit more about the career path as a player? Like how did you start?
Yeah.
How was it?
Sure. Yeah, so I've always had a passion for gaming, like many of my generation. I think I got my first Game Boy in like 1995, and then the first PC in 2000. And from then on, I just like always played games, pretty much any genre, and always what hooked me mostly was the competitive side. You know, like trying to measure yourself with others, with friends, but also later on when matchmaking got introduced to most games. But like in the early days, it was very hard to get in this esports scene. It almost felt a bit disconnected from anything else around you. So there was like an invisible barrier, and I never really
You wanted to
considered.
break out. Yeah.
I never considered the possibility of getting into esports. But then for me in 2015, I started, or before that I actually played Hearthstone. I got top 100 in there.
Nice.
And that was like the first time where I was like, okay, yeah, very interesting. Maybe, but with Hearthstone, there was too much RNG, so I jumped to another strategy game called Faria, which is like also a card game, but it has some board elements like chess.
Okay.
And in that game, it's an indie game, but it had a very competitive community with an esports scene as well, and prize pools and monthly tournaments. And I became the most successful player in that game. With the most prize winnings and also a content creator. And that's kind of where it really started for me, because I started to make some money. And yeah, I also started streaming. And from streaming, I kind of tumbled into Fortnite. I played Fortnite, I think, after the game was available 2 or 3 days of closed beta. Watched another streamer and was immediately excited. Kind of the whole gameplay system, and it was just something new. And I from the start I saw the potential. And yeah, I streamed it for a couple of months, and then some competitive players noticed me and wanted to pick me up for the team, and that's kind of where it all started for me with Fortnite.
Yeah,
Honestly, very interesting. Switching from different genres, game genres.
Yeah.
yeah, especially since like, and if you're talking about Hearthstone or like a strategy game, it doesn't really translates into like actual shooter games. So like the skill, the reaction time, it's all different.
Yeah.
Like one you're thinking and the other you're just shooting. So
Reacting, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so Hearthstone, I mean, I strategy games, I don't know, I got into that later on, but
yeah.
I was very hooked because you're like on your own, so I really liked
Yeah.
that. And that was really where my competitive
The competitive edge
nature
came from. Yeah.
like came through. And yeah, it definitely also helps in other shooter games, FPS games, to have a tactical background.
Yeah.
So naturally, I was always the in-game leader for our Fortnite team.
Yeah.
And yeah, like obviously, not all skills translate, and you need to have very good aim and mechanics, and especially in Fortnite.
Of
Yeah.
course. But still,
But
like, the soft skills did translate, and
yeah,
still the competitive edge did translate, of course. Now, I want to ask about like the different teams, because we noticed that you are on different teams while playing Fortnite. That was
Yeah.
how was that like? For example, playing on a team, playing and switching teams up. Like, it's a different. Each team has a different style of coaching, staff, even different
Mhm.
players who have their own play styles, their own way of communicating. You have to adapt to that. So, how was that experience like? What were your takeaways from that?
Yeah, so Fortnite is a very unique game, I would say, also as a team game. If you look at nowadays at the scene, it's very young, and players like to switch a lot. They don't really have the patience to work through things.
Yeah.
But how it was for me, luckily I was only on 2 different teams, but I was with 3 different organizations. So the first organization was War Legend. In the early days of competitive Fortnite, there was everything revolved around the French scene. There were lots of LAN tournaments as well, and it was very exclusive for the French community. But thanks to having 2 French players in our team, we were apart from that from the beginning. And yeah, there was no other European players in there, but like all the French players knew us, and it kind of helped us a lot to give us a head start of the competitive scene. And when the European tournament started, we were immediately one of the best. There were 2 other teams, one of them Team Secret, and the other one Team of Atlantis, I would say, that were kind of on our level. And yeah, so with this French team, I moved on to another organization from Russia, Windstrike. And yeah, it was not like with the French guys. They supported us a lot. They sent us to many LAN tournaments, boot camps. But yeah, then we got a good offer from this Russian org, Windstrike. But for them, like Fortnite was not so in the center, so like the communication wasn't the greatest, and kind of like our team fell apart. But also Fortnite changed in a way where it was no longer about the team mode, about squads with 4 players, and it turned more into a solo game.
I wanted to ask about that actually, because you do play. A lot of people also play Fortnite solo. Because I was gonna ask about the competitive scene. For example, you probably have solo and you do have duos teams as well. And I was gonna ask about your experience, but you did tell us that you were part of a team. I thought it was mostly could have been solo.
Yeah. So right now the main game modes are solo and trios. But at that time it turned from squads into solo and duo. And yeah, I found a very good, talented Swedish player that was also young, and had great synergy and chemistry with him. And together with him, when it switched from duos to trio, we built a trio with a German player. That actually later on turned out to be one of our Valorant pro players when he switched.
Nice.
But yeah, so I only was ever on two different teams player wise, and I think that also helped a lot, and was something that I liked, because I always valued chemistry and preparation a lot with your teammates.
Okay, great. So when did you feel like it was time to shift from being a player to being an organization?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Were you like, I'm done, I'm satisfied with my career, or was it like, what made you change?
Yeah, so obviously I was always one of the oldest competitive Fortnite players. There were maybe 3 or 5 other guys on my level in Europe, and in the same age.
Impressive.
And yeah, it was at the start of 2020, end of 2019. So after I've played almost 2 years professional Fortnite. Yeah, it was actually 2 years when I then realized it's probably like not really long term successful. And I also had the opportunity with Wave, because Wave started out as a smaller project, just an idea with a little vision, and I got picked up as player. But then we've actually seen the community grow and the success, and I got the opportunity from the other guys that will actually take it to the next level, start the company, and like run the organization professional. And it worked out pretty well. And since we started the company, now almost 2 years ago, it's been lots of growth, lots of things happening.
Yeah,
must be such an interesting journey, honestly, and you do learn a lot. I assume that you learn a lot from going on this journey, like transitioning from player to becoming one of the founders must be also something somewhat of a learning experience, because you're gonna handle, building the organization, the segments, the boot camps that you run, which we're gonna get into in a little bit.
Well. So esports definitely is no predefined field. You need to kind of find your own way.
Yeah, it's not complicated at all.
Yeah, and you learn a lot by your own mistakes, but I always say it's good to learn from your own mistakes, but better to learn from someone else's.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I tried to really, when I made the switch from player into more the management side, I listened to every podcast out there. I tried to follow individuals where I think they did a good job, and I really tried to listen to as much advice as possible to just somehow get the grasp of the industry and how things work. Because I was always like really focused on the gameplay side when it came to esports, and never really spent too much thought about the industry because it wasn't important to me. But when I learned more about it, it almost became an obsession to just understand it better and see how everything works.
It's a passion, because it's a passion. Like, it's when you do something you love, you're gonna dedicate time to it, even if it's something that you don't expect, like going into the managerial side or the business side of things.
It feels like it was an extension to the career. Like you played as a pro player. That must have been very fulfilling, if I might say. And then you found a way to stay in the esports scene. So I bet.
And you can also help. Like, this helps you in. You understand the players because you were one. So in making the boot camp, you really have a way with making the boot camp, because you can measure that on yourself, on your own past experiences, other than actually just making it and trying to improve. You know what skills are needed for people to compete on that level because you have the skills to compete on that level, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. It helps me a lot to really understand players and see, like, know what's going through their mind in ways where I can also support them better, but also, just handle them better. But I always kind of, like, I thought I would see myself more as a next step on a coaching side, actually. But I kind of just skipped that part. Coaching, casting, or maybe even player agent or something in that direction, team manager. But yeah, there was just so much else to do in Wave, and that's why, I kind of skipped over that part.
Because it's unexpected, but it's such a from the way that you're explaining it, it seems like such a huge learning experience, especially that it wasn't expected. Although the natural progression of a lot of players would be to go for coach or casting. Although you did cast, because you told me that you were casting.
Yeah. I mean, I always like to just join other projects, collaborate, or like test new things. But I never like casted on a full-time professional level.
Yeah.
Even though I was also now recently in Valorant, I was able to cast the VCT tournament for the German broadcast, and also some stuff in Fortnite, and before that in some other games as well.
And which brings you most joy to do, like managing the team, being a caster, maybe being an analyst or something? Which do you feel like is more your alley right now?
I can hear you a little bit worse than Jamil. Maybe you need to be a bit closer. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think the question was, what do I like more, casting, managing, or is that right?
Like which aspect of esports do you enjoy more? Is it like casting? Is it like being an analyst, being a coach, being just a manager?
It's very different. I like it when I can focus on one thing, and just like doing too many things at once is one of the things I don't like doing of my job right now. But if I can really dive deep into how we build our team, or like coaching. I also coached in Fortnite actually, early 2020, before I actually joined the Wave management. And we got number 2 in Europe in the duos Fortnite Championship, with 2 players, Queasy and Tulex. That was their first big success, and I think they won over 50,000 euros.
Nice.
But I think coaching I would like the most.
Because it leans into your skill set more. Because you can give more of what you learned. You can like.
I think also because I'm almost a player, but I don't really have to play.
Exactly. You're playing through the players that you're coaching.
You're just closer to the game.
Exactly.
That's what I really think exciting about coaching.
You mentioned something about players not losing steam throughout their training to becoming pro. Why is that? Like, some people would consider it a career, and some people might consider like it's something that I want to try to get into, or that I might be good at Fortnite, I might be good at whatever game, and I'm good at ranked, and I want to try to go pro. Why would people lose the motivation, or why would they stop, in your experience?
That's a very difficult question. Obviously, we have a great mental coach also at Wave that helps us out with that. But also recently, with one of our Valorant players, it depends on many factors. Like burning out as a player, it also depends on the game title, on the tournament structure. One problem for us in Valorant in the last year was that there were only 3 important tournaments or qualifiers, and the rest of the year was just scrimming and practice, and it can be like very repetitive. And
because
yeah, I think
scrims can get very repetitive. I get that.
Yeah,
especially if tournaments are within a short period of time. Like you have, let's say, 3 months of tournaments, then you have 9 months of scrims. It's gonna be it's gonna feel like a vacation.
And one meta change makes all your scrimmage for like 2 months worthless.
Yeah, so I would say it's really hard. Like you need to treat every player kind of as an individual and see where you can assist them the most, I think. But there's no general solution, I think, to avoid burnout. Obviously, breaks or like even boot camps, I think, helped us a lot, just to change the surrounding and bring something fresh. But I think it's a very important topic and something that's being discussed a lot more lately. Also now that the whole industry is getting more, how should I say?
Exposure.
More
exposed.
But also more professionalized.
And you have staff dedicated for this, like you said, the mental coach, and you also have people like psychiatrists and stuff like that who will help the player get over that burnout or have more coping mechanisms. Or also it's also the job of the coach to talk to the player, understand like why are they losing motivation, stuff like that. So definitely it's just each player is an individual and each one has their own motivations. Like some people want to be world champions and some people just love the game and some people want it for the money. Like these are 3 different individuals off the top of my head. Like some by nature they just have more competitive drive, and I've seen, being in the competitive Fortnite scene from day one, I've seen so many like of the greatest players, even the best player right now, Tayson, who was actually before I quit my teammate. Like his work ethic is something else, but I've also seen it with players like Mongrel, who is a very famous Fortnite player and also streamer. I've really seen the ups and downs, and I think in the end, still the difference is because, there's thousands of players that want to be successful and do the same, but only a handful can be on top. So not everyone is meant for this, and not everyone will have success, and that's why it will also kind of sort itself out that those players that bring talent but also the right mentality will be the ones that succeed and be on top. It's about not, if we're going to use terminology, it's about not tilting or not rage quitting, according to someone in chat. But it is like that when your back's against the wall during a match, or you're playing best of 5s or best of 3s, it's not the end of the game. You have to stay in it for a long period of time. You mentioned boot camps, and I want to ask about boot camps.
Quick question though, because chat is interested. How many keyboards were broken in your bootcamp? Rage quit and everything.
I think around 100,000 people in Europe played the World Cup qualifiers. So let's say if 1% of them broke the keyboard, then it's gonna be a lot.
That's 1,000.
Wow.
So about the bootcamp. So about the bootcamp, you said that it motivates players. Is it something like, I know bootcamps, for example, from League of Legends, they do bootcamps, but that is like pre-worlds. They do like a 1 month bootcamp to train the players on the mental, on how they play on that server. They scrim the teams on that server. Is it something similar where like top teams do scrim each other, or is it something like a tournament where you do brackets so that people feel the competitive edge again? How is thank you for the follow. How is it structured? Like, why is it motivating for players?
I don't think there's a general blueprint for boot camps. They can vary from, like, there's always different goals for a boot camp. For example, when we go with our Fortnite players, it was often very much content related. with the Valorant team, it can be about team bonding. It can also be about just like getting player pictures done and all the media stuff. But yeah, I think bootcamps just help because we just sit on the PC all day and don't really get to meet each other in real life, unless you have like an office space where the players come and play. But I think for most teams, just getting to meet your teammate in real life can change a lot, can maybe also loosen up some tension and just understand each other better. So I think for team games, it's very important. Fortnite, there's also the factor that ping is very important. So we had our boot camps in Frankfurt where there's a very good connection to the Amazon servers. But yeah, the objectives from boot camps can vary. But in general, it's just about getting out of your environment at home and just like be with other like-minded people.
Definitely. It's something that helps. Like, it's different because you have the body language, you have to talk to people in real life, meeting people, having more conversations. And it's very interesting that it's not just skill, like mechanical skill heavy. It's something like when you said what you said, media and stuff like that, which we noticed, by the way, when you shared the player cards. I saw it on LinkedIn, player cards, showing that you're not just focusing on player skills, but you're also focusing on marketability. That you want the player to be noticed on socials, because teams also care about that as well, because you have merch nowadays, you have them also streaming. There are activities that you have to do other than just scrimming and practice. And this also ups the standard, because it's not just about, ultimately everyone will have good mechanical skill, but this adds a competitive edge to the players as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, initially when I came in the esports industry, I almost treated it like a video game, you know, where I was trying to figure out how to win. And I thought to myself, can you get the most, what's your win condition? How can you get the most value? And my thought was that like it's all about the fan base that you're trying to build and making your brand bigger. So obviously, I would say nowadays social media reach is even more important than the competitive success, because competitive success comes and goes, but the fans that you fan base that you can build, like that's hopefully, unless you fuck up, is gonna support you for a longer time.
Definitely. Shout out to the fans who are watching this stream. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I have a question. So how does the parents of the player react to something like a bootcamp, considering most of your players are like 15, 16, because this is the prime age? Like when I was 15, if I was on the PC, mom would kick my ass, like, go study, you know, like maybe it's different now, but like, is it because the esport is seen as a actual career path, or is it like just they really
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, once again, it really depends on the individuals. I've had many talks with parents, especially with the Fortnite parents, because most of them are still minors. And yeah, like there were some parents who had multiple video calls to explain them everything is going to be alright and nothing is going to happen, but then some just came and there were no questions asked. So it's very
things are changing.
It's very, there's a variety in how it can look like, but in general, just if you talk to parents, normally explain them what they're doing and also give them a better understanding of competitive gaming. It's always they always understand, and I mean the best way to do it is to just make analogies to examples from their real life. So like just why does your dad watch soccer matches, and why is your son watching other people play? It's because, you know, like you like the game, you want to see people that are great at it, and I think in general more communication between the generations is definitely also a good thing, and with the Fortnite parents, it was always quite easy.
Good. It's also because is it also because of that esports is popular in those countries, like in Germany and France and Spain, for example, that at least they heard about it, that they heard of a career that has happened, a local tournament that has, you know, because there's word of mouth, it would help also with removing that stigma of I don't want my kids in
Wasting time.
yeah, they could see it as a career.
Yeah.
It's like a soccer tournament. There's a Valorant tournament, or there's a Fortnite tournament, and there's a soccer tournament.
Yeah. So I've seen it. Like, I've always followed this topic. It was like in the media all the time where they talked bad about esports. Now it's loosening them up. It's just a question of like the generation becoming older, having more to say. And yeah, nowadays there's more tolerance in Germany, but if I compare it to Europe as a whole, I think it's still lacking a bit behind. I think Austria, where I'm coming from, but also Germany, is still on the conservative end. If you go more towards Eastern Europe, maybe even more so. But yeah, in general, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, you see some players actually making it out of there as well, but definitely, like,
yeah,
I do agree. Which is very interesting because we're experiencing this right now, that we're on the cusp of this breaking out in a way. Like from now till 5 years, this is gonna be, at least the way we see it, it's gonna be more legitimized because we're gonna have more structure in it. Players are gonna have more ways to break into the scene. It's not gonna be just a make or break thing. I have to be part of a tier 1 team. No, I can find a career in tier 2, tier 3 streaming. It's gonna expand greatly, which is very exciting, honestly.
Yep.
So we wanna talk maybe like on the same topic of the players and their careers. How serious does a player take his career? Like, is it something, like, you've been a player, you should know. Like, is it something you do and you just have fun while it lasts, or is it something like you wanna invest your whole career into, or like because we all know that a player can't be a player for more than 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years if he's a great player or she is a great player. But when we're talking about a player, like, they're not doing the same amount of money like a sports player would do. Like, if you're talking basketball or football or whatever, where they get, like, they finish their career and they have $1 million in the bank. So an esports player doesn't have this much money. So how serious would a player be about his career when we're talking about it? Like, would they be putting some plans into, like, what do I do after I finish my career, or like, do they all, like, consider, like, this is my career and this is now, I don't care what happens afterwards?
I want to ask also something. I want to add to this just one thing, because some people might not consider being a player, but might consider being something else in the esports scene. Like, they're interested in the idea of coaching, they're interested in casting, also, I just wanted to add that to the mix of the question.
So I think with the players, once again, it really depends on the individual, but also on the supporting system around it. So you can be a great player, but if you never really have a structure around yourself, it might not lead to fulfill your full potential.
You mean the right organization?
Organizations, teammates, coaches, mentors. I think there's many things out of your hands actually in esports that kind of make or break it. But yeah, for players, it's definitely super important to have this mindset of really wanting to do it. If you get distracted with the Fortnite kids, that happens very often, when they get their first girlfriend, or
okay.
I don't know, if they want to play other games, or if they get tilted at their teammates. I think treating it very mature and as a career definitely separates all the players who are big talents but just want to play a game, and with the staff and people behind the scenes working, I think they've made a clear decision to not just play a game but to actually work and put lots of efforts into it. So I think with the players it's a bit more individual based, but overall when I look at this very young and dynamic esports industry, there's people really putting all the effort in.
Definitely. Definitely. What can I say? Like, people are making their careers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like it's not just like you. What I wanted to really ask about, do you have like a plan in Wave Esports, like to prepare the players after their career is done? Do they like just like you're a player right now, so that's all you do, or like you're a player right now, but your career is probably 2-3 years. What are we going to do afterwards?
Are you gonna stream? Are you gonna? What are you gonna do?
So this is obviously a topic that's also becoming more and more spotlight on. For us as a young organization, we don't really have the large infrastructure to prepare them for everything. But one thing we definitely do is, especially with the Fortnite players, is to boost their social media side, and every professional Fortnite player has to be a content creator. That's just like how the scene is built, and it's a great stepping stone into a very high demand job. Like, there's so many people out there that want to be streamers. Like, you can look up the numbers, how many people stream on Twitch and how many the 0.01% make a living of it. So I think it's a great opportunity that not everyone realizes, but we try to lead them in the right direction when it comes to building your brand and just making a career after the competitive.
That's certainly a way to go with it.
I guess since we're on the topic of Wave, I want to ask about the journey of Wave. Like, how did it start, and how's it going, and where is it going? Like, what are you planning to do going forward as well? Because that's also an exciting thing to see.
Yeah, so obviously it all started with us being a Fortnite team, and just finding our way, finding the direction that works and our place in this industry. Where we're at right now is that we're working in lots of business related topics. That's obviously going to be important for us to scale and get to the next level with what we've planned. There's some interesting talks and exciting things hopefully happening. In general, we're very happy with the games that win. Fortnite has been a great opportunity for us, I think most potential lays in for new organizations in these new games as well, where there's lots of hype behind it, and you can make it out of nowhere, like we've also seen, for example, with the latest Dota International winners, Team Spirit. They've won $20 million with the team, and
Like literally an underdog story. It's
Yeah, underdog
literally an
story.
underdog story.
Obviously, Dota is an older title, but
Of
I think in
course.
terms of fan base growth, that's kind of been our strategy to be in the trending areas.
Of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, what's planned for the future? Obviously, just step it up on our ends, like find some even more talented players, and also especially content-wise, make some cool projects happen. But yeah, obviously also can't go too much into detail of everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
We understand.
But yeah.
Secrets. For now, secrets.
Yes.
But on a future interview, not so secret.
Yeah.
The future interview is the Wave winning the international 2020.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah. He's been hinting at it.
I think if anyone, by the way, in the chat would like to ask any questions, like we would love to hear them. And if you want, we can also discuss anything else.
So
Because
go ahead.
no,
You're the okay. So you had some success, some not such good results in the last bootcamp, the FNCB.
FNCS.
FNCF. Sorry, I'm good
Yeah.
with names and numbers, as you can tell. Yeah. So you mentioned that you did that for the media publicity, for the better ping, for the everything. So preparing for such a bootcamp, as a management point of view, how much effort does it take? Do you set goals and do you work according to these goals?
Yeah, do you plan around them?
Do you plan around? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like, what are the challenges that like challenges? What was that experience like, for example?
Yeah, well, first of all, the very big challenge is logistically. I think on our largest bootcamp we had over 20, or I think almost 30 individuals participating, from guests that we invited to the staff to streamers, coaches. So finding the time slots where everyone has time, planning the travels, and just helping out each with the individual problems is already the first challenge. Then obviously defining goals is mainly what you can plan on the content side. So you make a concept for which videos you want to record. You need to plan the schedule for when you do photo shootings, when you maybe have an off day, when you do outside events, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. Obviously you need to be very flexible, because there's always something coming up that you don't expect, especially with nowadays with COVID and so on, which
lockdowns are always
you just you just need to be every day prepared to adapt.
Yeah.
Forgot the question. I seem to be very forgetful today.
Yes.
It's good. The worst. But yeah,
good. It's good content.
Yes.
It's good content. Yeah, sure.
So, anything did we miss?
For the bootcamp, I want last question about the bootcamp.
Yeah.
How do you set the duration for it? Like, is it 1 month, for example? And how do you know if you achieved like the goals that you set out to achieve? Like,
yeah, that's a good question.
It was a good bootcamp, like it was a successful bootcamp.
Yeah, that's actually also something I had to learn and get the feeling for it, duration, when and what, because I always try. I think communication is super important. and I always try to listen to everyone's feedback, ask them what they think. So that's kind of how we got to the point where everyone was happy. Because if it's too long, then the players might get annoyed with each other and get into arguments. Or if it's too short, then you can't get done with your stuff. And for the first bootcamp, we actually just used it to prepare and for team bonding with the Valorant team. And then later on, they played the tournament from at home. Second bootcamp, we planned so they could play the qualifier from there. And I think duration wise, if you do anything between 1, maybe 2 weeks on the highest end, is pretty good. But there's also some players. For example, the place that we use the most for boot camps. We give them lots of exposure, and the whole Fortnite scene nowadays is going there. And some players, they went for 2 months and lived there during the summer and stayed there with a couple of other friends.
That was an intense experience for 2 months. Like, you can really get a lot of grinding done, especially if you do. You can get a lot of ranked games out, really get your competitive edge.
But duration and also time wise, I think for team games it's very good to also play from there. My initial thought was maybe your home environment might be where you play the most comfortable. But from seeing it play out in both ways, I think especially if it's a team game, being together just gives you more energy and drive. And even if they don't like the setup as much as their own setup, it outweighs the negatives, the positives of just being there, being in the moment, also not really having a chance to run away from the problems and rather talk them out is a big deal.
Sorry, I'm disconnecting. Sorry, bye.
Like imagine that, like people just rage quitting. But definitely it builds up that inner resilience, and it also gives players that experience, even if it's on a small scale, of what it is like to actually compete on stage. And a lot of players have admitted that they do perform better on stage. Maybe it's because of fans or the spotlight or or
just being next to their teammates.
Or that competitiveness, just seeing the enemy team in front of you instead of just being on screen makes it a little bit more impactful. Like you have more on the line, knowing that okay, these are the people that are going to take me down. Okay.
You're talking about the League of Legends all chat, right?
That was taken down that was almost taken down, and it wasn't. I have all chat muted because of the amount of salt that gets Now we have emotes, so you can be salty and creative. Like it's good with a smiley face. Okay. I think that's almost all of our questions. If there's any questions in the chat, we'd love to.
There was a question that since you shifted from being a pro player to being a businessman, kind of, do you ever feel nostalgic? Like, do you ever feel like it was the correct time, not the correct move? Because I believe it's the correct move. Every player has like their own career that's going to end someday. But do you feel like it was the right time? Do you feel like you could have squeezed another season or like just one more game? Do you ever feel nostalgic?
Well, I feel more a bit regret about my career, not trying to get into esports earlier than nostalgic. I mean, of course it was great times, and I loved like this. Almost felt like a speed run, like a last minute speed run my career. But of course, also some days when I look at some pictures, the moments. But I that's the one thing that I don't like about esports is gaming you can do forever, but esports, there's just a very limited time, and you need to be in the right time at the right moment
Yeah,
to
exactly. That could
actually
be-
make this career happen and get to your full potential.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So there is some nostalgia, but definitely, like, who wouldn't? Like, honestly, it's such an experience. Like, it's something that if you have the opportunity and miss it, you would definitely. It would be something that one would regret because it's such a unique experience. Like, you could try it out for one season. Just try it out for one season. You know,
Yeah.
because not everyone gets that opportunity. Do we have any more questions? Yeah,
Also, one
sorry,
question that I still had in mind.
Yeah, sure.
That you gave before is like about becoming a pro player. Advice and how do you enter? It was, I think, the final question that you had.
Yeah, I was gonna leave that for some parting words, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but
No,
sure,
it's
go
okay.
ahead.
I don't want to close the show, but
No, sure.
Yeah, we were just about to.
Don't worry
Okay.
about
Okay.
it. Go for it.
cool.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think for players, it's just very important to control your ego and also accept learning from others. That's one of the points. Then communication, like sharing with your team what you think, how you feel, and talking through things is very important, because otherwise the problems just grow and grow and get bigger and bigger. And then also obviously dedication is another part that's super important. And yeah, also working outside of the game on yourself to grow. And yeah, it's like the difference between just playing games or like actually trying to make a career out of it and working hard. And yeah, when it comes to getting started in the industry, is I think important to build some kind of track record and show where you can be useful. Like most organizations, they have more problems than solutions. So if you kind of can help them find some solutions but don't add problems, then they will probably be very happy and want to have you on board. So
Of course.
it's just about adding value.
Exactly. It is.
It's that easy.
Yeah, from any perspective, like from the staffing perspective or from a player perspective as well. If you can fill a gap, definitely. Like, people wouldn't be hiring anyone or onboarding anyone if they wouldn't have a problem that needed solving.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately.
Yeah.
So you heard it here. So communication and humility and practice. And be a problem solver.
Exactly.
Be a problem solver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
New bloods out there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think we covered everything. Thank you for the advice.
Thank
It
you
was
for
honestly,
being here,
and
yeah.
thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It was very insightful.
Yeah.
Honestly, we loved having you here.
Was
And thank you for everyone in the chat.
Yeah.
We.
Yeah.
Yeah.
great talk. Thanks also for having me, guys.
Having you here. See you soon.
Any shout out? Would you like any shout out?
Yeah.
Follow Luuu at his social. Luuu.
Three U's.
3 U's or 4
Yeah,
U's?
always with free use. Free.
Yes. And Wave
Yeah.
Esports you have Instagram, LinkedIn.
With Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch.
They're everywhere, like us. So great. Okay, thank you. We loved having you here, Luuu. Thank you for joining us on the call. See you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you everyone for joining us on the chat. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Backstage Esports. See you.
See you.